Okay, folks, today we're gonna focus on good old NNXT because Holler Sounds asks what all these controls in the remote editor are for, because he doesn't have seen anybody use it in quite some times. That's due to the introduction of NNXT is basically since version 1 or 2 of Reason. So this is a very old sampler. First of all, we got these global controls here, which give us control over the frequency and corresponding to that the resonance. Just very basic stuff. We got our amp envelope controls, which affect the attack, the decay, and the release. And we got our mod envelope decay, which corresponds to the mod envelope. So as you hear, if I raise attack, the attack gets delayed. More like a fade in. And decay shortens our signal, and release makes our signal longer. Mod envelope, on the other hand, does nothing right now. We need to go into this blue display here and select any node. So we could either select a node range we want to trigger, or we could select all of it by selecting the group on the left side. Now we got access to our mod envelope, and so what we need to do to activate the decay on the mod envelope, we need to set if we want to apply key to decay, pitch to decay, or filter to decay. And let's raise that pitch so we easily hear it. And if we drag this decay knob down, we get the normal signal, our standard piano without pitch. And so we get this laser gun going. Let's come to this lower side here and let's have a look at that. So at its core, there's this blue display where we could jog in our samples. Our samples have a defined range that's visualized by these markers here, and even gets its own rotaries down here for the high and for the low key. The key that's selected here is basically the root node. So for our piano F here, we got the corresponding F node selected here, and its range where it spans from E2 to G2. It's the same sample for these 4 notes. So we don't need a sample of every key, we just need ranges of keys. We could place notes from C-2 until C8. In total, we get 10.5 octave to play with, where we could jog in our samples. So this could be handy if you plan to do multiple instruments on one keyboard, so you could define the different octaves to different keys. If we scroll down, we see there's another group with additional samples, and if I select one in here, we easily see why this is, because we got this low velocity and high velocity knobs here, which define the velocity range where a specific sample is played. If I select one of the upper group, we see it's from 1 to 100. If I play a light note, and if I play a hard note, this is typically 2 different samples. We should get it so as you see, it switches between these two groups. You could do multiple groups. There's no limit. There's no limit here. As far as I can tell, there's no limit. But what else could we do? We could define our root node. We could tune it. We could set a start and the end point of the sample. We could set a loop start and a loop end point for the sample. For instance, if you get a synth sound, you could dial in the loop start and loop end so it won't skip a cycle, so it sounds some kind of natural. We get a play mode knob here, which we could select from forward loop to forward revert to forward rewind. So we get multiple options here to play our samples. The low key and the high key I already explained, as well as the low velocity and high velocity. We also got a fade in and fade out option here, which seems to do nothing. I don't know what this is right now. Sorry for that. If you have an answer to this, please let me know in the comments down below. We get an alternating option. So if we got multiple snare samples, for example, to hand, we could use this alternate option to switch between the original one and multiple others. And we get to select our zones, which are outputs. On the back side, we got 16 of them, so 8 stereo channels in total. So to keep it simple, let's start here at the group menu. We got our polyphony here, which is by default on 20 by default. We could decrease this so only one note could get played at a time, so it's basically monophonic. So this is especially important to get the key polyphony to 1 if you, for example, have samples in here and don't want one sample to interfere the other. But let's keep this on 20. We could also set the group to mono, so none of the same group gets played in if we hit multiples. We got the LFO rate and the portamento settings, as well as a legato or retrick option. Next comes the modulation matrix, so to say. As you can see, there are little buttons with a W and an X. The W is, as you see it above here, the mod wheel, and the X corresponds to the second dial here. If I turn down the frequency and raise the mod wheel, you have basically the same effect if you do this. But there is more. We could affect our modulation envelope. So if we do this instead, nothing changes because our mod envelope is unused. We could do this with pitch just to demonstration purposes. And we got the LFO amount that's currently not used. We need to get an output of it, so we go to the green knobs in the LFO and set it to level. Nothing happens. If we raise the mod wheel, we get our LFO. We easily could switch this to both or only one of them and get the same result. Even this modulation matrix here is enough to do crazy stuff with your music. Next comes the velocity, where we could define how our samples are treated by the sampler. So more velocity in this case means more level and more opened filter frequency. If we turn this down and play really hard, we should get a dull and silent tone. We also could use the mod decay on this. We also could incorporate the sample start and the amp envelope attack. Turn this down and just slightly turning sample start up, and okay, the LFO should be clear by this point. We also got a second LFO. Where we could incorporate a stereo pen. The cool thing here is if we select a single note and use any automation in any knob in here, and if you select the whole group, you see there's this little M which indicates there is something on another note that's different from this note. So the pitch bend range defines how many notes our pitch wheel goes up and down. In this case, 2 semitones. If we raise this to 12, we get a full octave. And an octave down as well. We also get a filter. This filter corresponds to the filter and resonance knobs here. So if we select a bandpass, for instance, let's select all. We also get the bandpass options over here. You could do different filters on different keys and play around with this filter frequency knob if you need to. And last but not least, the amp envelope lets you control your amp envelope curve and how much it is delayed, how much the key affects the decay, the loudness, the level, the pen, and the spread of the stereo. So we could do pretty cool stuff in here, stuff that I'm not really aware of. But yeah, I guess I explained most of it. The only thing you need to know is if your machine is powerful enough, which it should be in 2025, always keep this high quality interpolation button enabled. For some reasons, in some patches it is disabled, but on the most of them they are enabled by default. One thing to know here is it doesn't matter where you right click here, you can't automate stuff in here, but you could automate everything in here, which is controlled by everything down here. So if you get your head around how to do this, you are a lucky one. So there's plenty CV on the back, so you could get really creative with that. Even split your samples to different outs to just mix them more or effect them different. You could go very crazy with this. Okay folks, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something, and I hope you can take something away from this. So just keep in mind, this is just a demonstration video. Everything in here is a can, not a must. If you liked the video, please leave a comment down below. Please hit subscribe and have a great day. See you next time. Bye.